Welcome to Executive Points of View. I'm Grant Shee, along with my friend and co-creator, Joe Marroquin. We're here today to talk about a concept of character versus competence. And this one is, Executive Points of View is not shy about hard-hitting commentary. And this one really talks about whenever we have a missed expectation, as executives, we can usually pin it back to one of two causes of it. And we're talking about missed expectations from people.
Right.
And it usually boils down to, was it due to that person's character, or was it due to their competence, or perhaps lack thereof? And so, one of the things that we often discuss in that is, we've seen this before in board meetings, projects. There's delivery dates that are missed, or scope of solutions that fall short of expectations. We're often told it can do something, but then it ends up not being able to. And so the first question we have is, was that because I was told by someone who had a lack of character, who was looking to lie to me,
right,
or looking to make a sale, or
didn't care,
right? And just was saying things even though they didn't have the right to say it, or the information available to say it. And so there is a concept that there's a lack of character when you knowingly deceive or are trying to sound better than it is. So on that, Joe, the other half of this is competence. Can you give us some of your thoughts on that?
See, from a competency standpoint, I always think of it's a question about experience or hard knowledge. I think that's those are two of the main points that come into it. You either didn't have the experience to do something, or you did something in a different setting and you didn't account for all the information that was in there that you needed to have. So there's that component of it. And you also there are minor environmental things that you also have to factor into these things, because as a good estimator, you should be able to take into account those things. But overall, the really major points really deal with, do you have the right experience, and did you have the right hard-won knowledge that you needed in order to determine whether the product or the solution was going to do or did what you needed it to do. Competence and character, those are, it does boil down to those two items. And how do we reconcile these things better?
Yeah, so, in my eyes, both can be, first let's just establish, both can be evolved, right? Both can be changed, and I think they should be changed for most situations. Competency is an easier thing to change.
I agree.
We have to open our minds to accept the fact that we as people, even in our respective roles and organizations, we don't know everything. Right? We don't have all the hard technical knowledge. Experience takes time, and so forth. So there is a natural evolution that comes with that we have to be willing to accept and adapt and learn from. So it's easier, though, because that is just playing to my knowledge. Now, character needs to evolve along with it.
Agreed.
But I would argue it's a harder thing to move for a lot of people. And so I know there's examples in our past where, as our competency changed and grew and evolved, our character has to match that.
Right.
Put simply, if I used to say one thing because of my level of knowledge, but my level of knowledge is now changed or different, if I'm saying the same things, even though I know better, then you have to question my character and my integrity.
I agree.
And so, Joe, is there an example of, in your career, any recent times where you've put that model into effect to success?
I bump into those problems, and generally I do quite a bit of work from an assurance and compliance perspective, and many times I rely on the entire organization to get certain certifications done or certain attestations taken care of. And from previous experience, I know how long it's taken in other places to get some of these certifications accomplished. But every org is different. So sometimes you walk into an organization and you think you can get something done within 6 months or 8 months or a year. And the reality is that organization doesn't respond to the same stimuli. So I can reward them a certain way, or I can put certain mandates on them, but they have other operational requirements that they have to adhere to as well. And I have to factor those realities into my estimating, and consequently I need to be able to commit accordingly, or change my commitments to my organization of saying, I did it once and I thought it was going to take me 8 months, and it really took 11 months, okay, so now factoring that information in, I need to make sure that I reflect that of saying the next certification or the next piece of work will probably take 11 months. I shouldn't go back and say I can get it done in 8. It's really going to be 11.
So I think what you're saying is you are taking your learnings, your lessons learned, these experiences that you're building onto, and now changing what we can trust as your character.
Right.
You're not telling the same story as before because the factors that went into your decision making are different now. But if you had stayed trying to say the thing that people want to hear, I would question your integrity and your character.
And sometimes you do get better at doing things. So you can say, I got the first one done in 8, I can get the next one done in 6 or 4. If your org's online, if you understand the organization, you understand the other levers, you say, just because I turn one lever, that doesn't mean that all the other levers stay the same, so I might be able to adjust things. And I think that's part of it as well, because at the end of the day, we are trying to get things done faster.
Excellent. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Executive Points of View. We hope you enjoyed it.
Great. Thanks, everyone.